If you're tired of attracting your past and you're ready to start experiencing something different, something new, something that is actually in alignment with your heart, with your soul, this video is for you. And I don't believe in coincidences. So if this video found you, I believe it's for a reason. And I believe that you will deeply resonate with what I have to share today. So, for starters, what does it mean to attract your past? Well, have you ever heard someone say something like, "Why does this always happen to me?" Or "Here we go again," or "I can never catch a break," or "I'm just so unlucky"? Yeah, that person is becoming aware of a pattern in their life where they're attracting the same kind of person in relationships, or similar circumstances keep unfolding, or familiar outcomes. And they're recognizing that and they're like, what the hell? Why does this keep happening? But they don't know what's going on. And for the person who's experiencing that, the victim mindset says, all of these things are happening to me. It's God, it's the universe, it's fate. And that actually just reinforces the pattern. That makes things even more challenging to navigate. But as you start to shift your perspective and ponder the possibility of maybe all of these things aren't happening to me, but they're happening from me, that's when everything starts to shift. That's when you start to step into empowerment and you see what's actually running your life. Now, this pattern or these patterns, plural, are deriving from something. What are they deriving from? They're deriving from the programming. The programming that we have is something that was installed in the early years of life. And we didn't choose the programming. It was just a matter of our external circumstances and our environment and how we were raised and culture, society, friends, what someone told us when we were five. All these random things um, are what lead to the development of these different beliefs that we have about ourselves. And these beliefs are core identity beliefs, and they're stored in the subconscious. And what happens is after the age of 7, these beliefs in the subconscious control our lives like 95% of the time. And so the patterns, the cycles, the tendencies, the behaviors, the coping strategies, the compensation methods, all of these things that we see on the surface, that we see manifesting, are deriving from those core beliefs. Now, I don't like to waste time with treating the symptoms and doing fruit inspection. I like to get to the root. And what happens is when you start to investigate your subconscious programming and you start to see what these core beliefs are, you end up saving a lot of time and energy and effort, because it's exhausting to sit there and think, oh, I've got all these problems, all these things that have been happening to me. It's going to take forever for me to actually do the inner work and to go within and to, fix myself or heal myself. And so a lot of people, when they start to practice, some kind of self reflection, they say, I have too many problems and it's just too overwhelming and I'm just going to stay stuck and this is how it's going to always be and this is how it was from my mom and her mom and it's just like generational and it's just how we are, right? Again, that is going back to the victim mindset, which is also part of the programming. So it's not your fault for having that, it's how you were conditioned. But let me say this. One of the things that really helps me when I started my journey of letting go of who I thought I was and remembering who I really am was discovering that I didn't have all of these problems that I thought I had. And see, when you have all of these problems, doing the inner work or the shadow work necessary for the dissolution of these limiting beliefs becomes frightening, it becomes intense, it becomes overwhelming for your nervous system. And when you even start to try to do any kind of inner work, especially on your own, having the belief of I'm broken and I have a million problems, it's going to be immensely challenging, and your nervous system will pretty much prevent you from even doing the work necessary. But when you start with the perspective and you realize that, hey, wait a second, maybe I don't have all of these problems. Maybe it's not about focusing on all the different fruits that have been produced in my life. And maybe it's actually about getting to the root of what's been driving everything. Then you see, hey, I don't have a million problems. I have one or two or maybe three core beliefs that aren't even true that are responsible for all of these other things that I've been noticing, the patterns, the cycles, the tendencies, the behaviors. All those things are rooted or can be traced back to like one or two roots. And when you see this and you realize this, your nervous system starts to relax because it's relieving. It's not as much pressure and you feel empowered because when you're dealing with two limiting beliefs that aren't even true compared to all of these problems and all of these different things, it's two different perspectives. But what I was going to say is because when you see clearly, when you see that these are the roots and these are the very things that are responsible for what you've been attracting, you start to shift your identity without you even realizing it, and that's what empowerment is all about. So it's how you're relating to what you're dealing with that changes. Before, operating from the ego, you were overwhelmed by all of these problems that you thought that you had. But as you take a step back and you rest in awareness, now you're operating from the soul. Now you're operating from your true nature. And probability is the realm of the ego. Possibility is the realm of the soul. So, same programming, but it's a different you relating to it, focusing on it, seeing it, which changes the entire game. It's a different energy. And now, actually dissolving the thing that has been keeping you stuck in this pattern becomes very possible. And again, you actually feel capable. You feel like you're able to do this. And that makes a huge difference. Now, what's crazy is that your nervous system doesn't actually know what's like happening outside of you. All it knows is your interpretation of what's happening outside of you, around you. And it's your interpretation paired with your imagination. So you interpret something, your imagination kicks into gear, and then your nervous system responds to that. So, this subtle but profound shift in perspective is so important as a precursor to doing the inner work, going within, and getting to the core of these programs. The nervous system is interesting. It has one main focus, and that is to keep you safe. It doesn't care if you're happy, it doesn't care if you're manifesting your dream life. So even though the inner work is a step in the right direction of transforming your inner world and being free and being whole, if you have a perception, if you have an interpretation that you have to climb a mountain of problems in order to experience that freedom and peace and wholeness, the nervous system will do its job and it will bring you into either the sympathetic state, fight or flight, or it will bring you into the dorsal vagal state where there's just like this total shutdown and it's freeze mode and you hide and you feel heavy and you feel like you have no energy and you start procrastinating, right? Those are two things that happen all the time when people try to start doing this work. So, again, I have found it to be immensely helpful to start with your awareness, start with your perspective, and just see that it's not really a mountain. It's not as many things as your mind was leading you to believe. Simplify it. When you simplify it, that is signaling safety to the body, to your system, which is causing you to be empowered and capable of doing what is necessary to transform your life from the inside out. Okay. Now, once you go within and once you start to see these core beliefs, just seeing them and then questioning the validity of them is what is causing the light, which is your awareness, to dispel the darkness. And these beliefs are operating in the darkness, they're operating in the subconscious, right? And this is when the uprooting process happens very naturally. It's not something that requires all of this mental strain and effort. Oh, it's like uprooting. No, it naturally, these beliefs naturally start to uproot and dissipate once you see what they are. And then what happens is you become aware of these different manifestations of these core beliefs. And there's four main ones that I talk about often. And this is what I help people with in my coaching. I have them identify and become aware of these four things throughout their lives, because what happens is, again, these core beliefs are operating in the part of your mind that you're unaware of. So, one of the things that people often ask is, how do I even start going into my subconscious? How do I even start with becoming aware of what these core roots are? And what you do is you pay attention to what they're creating, what they're manifesting. And life does a pretty good job of revealing these things or showing you these things. And that's, like I said earlier, like, once the program is established, although the core beliefs are hidden and in the dark, the fruits of these beliefs keep happening in our lives. They're the very things that we're seeing, and we're thinking that what we're seeing in our lives is the problem, is the root, when in reality, what we're seeing is the fruit. We're seeing the symptoms. We're seeing the screen, and we're thinking that what's happening in the movie of our lives is coming from the big screen in the theater, but it's actually coming from the projector behind us that we can't see. That projector is the subconscious, and the DVD, the film inside that projector, is the core subconscious belief. Okay. So, these four things that I have found to be really helpful to just be aware of as we're navigating the human experience are: number one, triggers; number two, judgments; number three, attachments; and number four, words. Let's start with words. What do I mean by that, by the way? I mean the words that you are saying about yourself, to yourself, in your mind, or out loud to other people. When you become aware of those words and you see how negative they are, because they're typically negative if you're operating from a very, um, if you're operating from a belief system of I'm not enough, I am unworthy, I am unlovable, which most people are. The words that you start to hear in your own mind, or the words that you say about yourself to other people, will typically have an energy or a tone of negativity, limitation, and disempowerment. And we're not even aware of this most of the time. But as soon as you become aware, that's when everything changes, because then you're like, wait a second. This is just a pattern. This is just the predictable past manifesting. But I don't have to keep saying these things. I don't have to keep believing in this. And that, just pausing and investigating that directly, is going to give you an open window. It's going to be a trail directly into the subconscious mind, where you will see what that particular core belief is that is manifesting the words that are coming out of your mouth. You're manifesting all the time, by the way. You're manifesting 24/7. People think that they have to become better manifestors. No, you have to realize that you're manifesting all the time. And the task is to identify what is in the projector of your subconscious that is manifesting these things, that you're not even aware of. Unconscious manifestation is still manifestation. Conscious manifestation is where you see the root, you see the fruit, and then you actually do something about it. You take responsibility. You go from being the victim of life circumstances to the creator. and manifestation is still flowing. But now what's appearing on the screen of life are things that are in alignment with what your soul wants to be experiencing. And let me just say this too, there's a big difference between trying to manifest from the ego and then effortlessly attracting things into your life from your soul, manifesting from your soul. When you're trying to manifest from your ego, it's going to be some kind of compensation for a core belief that says, I am not enough as I am. And if I am not enough as I am is your internal reality, then to deal with that pain, to deal with that emptiness, you will attempt to create or manifest something in your life like a certain amount of money or a status or a partner to feel enough, to feel worthy. But it never actually gives you what you're looking for, which is actually a sense of peace and wholeness and freedom. It's a feeling that you really want, but you're blinded to that when you're living in the world of the ego, which is the sense of being a separate self, disconnection, fragmentation. And so you keep trying to attain more and more and more and more. And it never does anything. It never fulfills you. It never brings you that sense of wholeness that you're longing for. That's manifestation from the ego. But when you transcend the ego and recognize that it's not who you are, it's a role that you play, it's a mask, but it's not who you are. You are the awareness, you are the pure consciousness beyond it. Then manifestation is still there. But these desires that you have from your soul are an extension, an expression of your divinity. So you're not trying to create things in order to feel okay. You are recognizing that you are inherently a divine being, and it's your nature to create and to manifest and to flourish. And it goes beyond just yourself, your ego self. What you're manifesting, what you're creating, what you're doing in the world is helping other people. Once you're experiencing freedom and wholeness, it doesn't end there. That's just the beginning. Now you realize you are the light of the world, and you have this deep inspiration that seemingly comes out of nowhere to want to help other people. And it's such a beautiful experience when that is just naturally flowing out of you. You're not trying to be someone you're not. You're not trying to become a better version of yourself. You're just being your true self in your human incarnation, in your form. And your presence, your energy becomes your greatest blessing to the world around you. And that's the thing. This is not about trying to go around and like trying to like wake people up, because if you try that, good luck. That is not what this is about. It's not about proving to other people that you're right and they're wrong and you have the correct philosophy or viewpoint. No, that's all ego. That's another form of ego. And there's also the spiritual ego to be aware of. But that's not what I'm talking about here today. What I'm talking about is when these limiting beliefs that are running your life, that are causing you to attract these things that you don't want to be experiencing, when you transcend those beliefs, dissolve them, and you experience that wholeness that has always been there, the revelation of your true self, total freedom, total peace, and you start living according to that, what's happening is this: you are now having a new conversation with yourself and your mind. And there's new beliefs being formed that are positive and are creating these different experiences within you. So they're truths. And what happens is when you start relating to yourself differently, when you start seeing yourself differently according to who you really are, not according to your programming, you start thinking differently. Or now you're choosing to dwell on different thoughts because you have the power to, because you realize you're not your thoughts. Your thoughts that you were having that were so limiting were just the manifestation of the old programming. But guess what happens when you uproot the old route, different thoughts, or you're focusing on different thoughts. The thoughts that you don't align with, that are false, that are lies, you let them pass through like, like clouds in the sky. And they pass because they're energy, and energy is always moving and flowing. And you sit back in awareness and you're thinking these thoughts that, again, are in alignment with who you really are in your heart. And these new thoughts are causing new feelings. So now you're embodying these elevated emotions, and you're not trying to, it's just the flow of the river. It's the new projection, it's the new fruit that is being produced effortlessly. You have these elevated emotions now, and these elevated emotions are creating new actions, aligned action. And you're very precise with your time and all of these things that are just flowing out of you are now totally in alignment with your heart. This is what it means to live from your heart space instead of from your head space, right? So, new thoughts, new feelings, new actions, which then lead to a new frequency. You're no longer attracting your past, you're attracting what is arising from the present moment. And the present moment is the window of your true self. Because the words we use to describe our essence are the words I am. What tense is I am in? It's in the present tense, right? So the present moment, the eternal now, as the mystics say, is not something that you climb into. It's not something that you attain. It's what you are. The suffering that you've been experiencing has been coming from a past that doesn't exist, illusion, and a future that doesn't exist, illusion. The suffering that you've been experiencing has been coming from your own imagination. And when you're lost in the woods of your own mind, you can't see yourself, you can't be yourself. But the manifestation process is still taking place, right? That's just the way it works. We are divine beings, and our minds are way more powerful than we've been led to believe. But from the present moment, which is what you are, it's reality, there's this expression of the love that you are, and authenticity is just there. And authenticity is the highest vibrational frequency that you can embody. And you just trust and you know that all of these things are going to start to appear and attract. You're going to effortlessly attract these things into your life because you're loving yourself. That's the internal new world that you're living in. And the outer world, the screen, has no choice but to show that movie, right? And it's so beautiful. It's so fun. It's what the human experience is all about. Knowing that you are the creator. Things are not happening to you, they're happening for you, they're happening from you. You are the source, not the victim. How amazing is that? Yeah. Awakening is recognizing that you are the awareness that is infinite, timeless, boundless, which is beautiful. It's amazing. And I love to just sit in meditation in that state of consciousness and just soak in that presence and energy. It's amazing. But so many people get to that place, or they remember that place of who they really are, pure awareness, and then they just like stop. So they actually limit the reality of pure awareness. The truth is, when you start experiencing pure awareness, it's only the beginning in this human incarnation. Now you can actually shift things that before you thought you couldn't. It's not fate. It's not this. It's not that. It's not bad luck. It's not luck. It's a frequency. And it's all deriving from you. So start with feeling safe. Start with nervous system regulation. If you have any questions about this, or if you're interested in regulating the nervous system, I help people one on one in this process. I've also written a free ebook guide, and I'm working on a really awesome course that will be released probably by the end of this month, maybe early next month, on how to regulate the nervous system and how to be free in that area. Once you're regulated, once there's safety, once you have sovereignty over your system, then you can go into the projector of your subconscious, see what these core limiting beliefs are that come from your past, that come from your old programming, and then you can change them, you can dissolve them, you can decide what you want to be in your operating system, which will always be the precursor to, again, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're doing, what you're expressing, what your frequency is, and therefore what your external results are, what your external expression is. That's how it works. It's as simple as that. But start with the nervous system. And then for the deeper work, like I think I had mentioned earlier, which is returning to original wholeness, deprogramming the subconscious, reprogramming the subconscious, I love this stuff. Once I experienced this for myself, it changed everything for me. And I decided to devote my life to helping people experience this inner transformation for themselves. So I know it can sound maybe complicated and confusing at times, but it's really not. And I would love to help you through this one on one. When you go through this process with someone, it makes it a lot easier, and I simplify it, and I give you the support and the safety needed to go within the depths of your subconscious and go through this whole deprogramming and reprogramming process. So, if you're interested in any of this, the information is in the description below. Um, yeah, and that's pretty much all I have for today. So it's not luck, it's a frequency, and you have the power to totally shift what's been unfolding in your perceived outer world, as within, so without. So if you found this video helpful, informative, or insightful, please leave a thumbs up at the bottom of the screen and be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. By subscribing, you really help this channel out a lot. It's one of the best ways to support this channel, and it doesn't cost you anything, and it would mean a lot to me. So please consider that if you have found these videos to be helpful and inspiring. And if you have any questions, as always, about anything I shared in this video, please leave all of your questions in the comment section below. Okay? So that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.